Hello and welcome to another video. In this one I'll be covering the whole front, so let's get right into it. Starting out in the south, we see here that the Russian forces are attacking in the direction of Vuhledar. We can see here in this drone footage that was geolocated to be in the Vuhledar area that there is a lot of destruction here. We can see that the field is completely destroyed by both artillery and mines, while all the houses and buildings are also completely destroyed. Some are complete rubble, some are still standing, but are essentially also destroyed. So there's a lot of destruction here, and that is current the situation in the Vuhledar area. Then we move further northwards in the direction of Novomikhailivka, where here the Russian forces are also attacking in this direction, and to the north of that in the direction of Marinka. As the usual, the Russian forces are attacking in the center of the city, as well as to the south in the direction of Pobieda, and to the north in the direction of the north of Marinka. As for the Donetsk front itself, the Russian forces are attacking in the direction of Nevelske as well as Pervomaiske and to the north of Pervomaiske. Then the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense have also reported fighting in the direction of Netailove. So most likely the Russian forces have expanded their flank a bit further to the north, which has made the Ukrainians claim that there's fighting in Netailove, as that would be in this section here, something like that. As for the Avdiivka front, the Russian forces are attacking the direction of Krasnohorivka as well as Kamyanka, in the direction of Avdiivka itself from Upitne and Sheverne, where here in the direction of Kamyanka, the Russian forces have managed to reach the H20 highway from the eastern side. And that is most likely that they are either storming this fortified position or have taken it and are now fighting within the village itself. Then to the north in the direction of Bakhmut, there's a lot of fighting all over this whole area. Well, let's start at one point, and that would be Chasiv Yar, where here the Russian forces have completely bombarded this area. If you look at the video. Looking at this footage, we can see that the Russian forces have hit Chasiv Yar very hard with their multi-launch rocket systems. Now, moving on to the next part of the front line, we see here to the south of Ivanivske, the Ukrainian forces actually managed to recapture a part of the front line here to give the Ivanivske village a bit of breathing space so that they can have time to reorganize. And we see then further northeastwards of that area that the Russian forces have actually managed to make a breakthrough south of the city. Now, I've only marked this area as captured because these are three different sources. The first one is Syriac Maps, who claims this part here has been taken by the Russian forces, but since then the attack has failed and that they were stuck. Then we see a report by Deep State Map, which shows this whole residential area all the way up to the road to be taken by the Russian forces. And then the final one is Rybar, who reports that this whole area to the north as well has also been taken all the way up to the church and university here to the north. So which one is true? Time will tell, but so far I am keeping Syriac Maps as my main source. So whatever he says, I put on the map, and the others are supplementary. So I'll put them as a question mark until Syriac Maps either confirms or denies their reports. Then to the center of the city, fighting continues here to the south, as well as in the center there was some video footage here. Now, by looking at this footage, we can see here that there is this tank right here, and that is allegedly a captured T-80 BV that was captured by the Ukrainian forces, taken from the Russian forces, and they have since then been destroyed in Bakhmut, according to this video evidence as well as earlier reports. Now, moving on, we see here to the north of the city, the Wagnerians are continuing their attacks at the Assam steel plant here to the north of the city. There's been no update on this storming of the facility yet. Then to the northwest, we see here fighting continues in the direction of Bohdanivka, as well as Hryhorivka, and Orihovo-Vasilivka, and finally also Minkivka. So this part here to the north indicates that the Russian forces are looking to take control over the east of the canal, trying to establish a proper position in this area. And this is actually something that I predicted. If we look at this footage from a video I uploaded on the 11th of January. The first one is if they want to hold Siversk, the next defensive line will be something similar to this, where they go from Mykolaiivka to the west and by this river here. And then finally over and behind the canal, where they will have to hold a defensive line by the canal, and then down to Venivske, and they'll be holding the area around Bakhmut as well. With this, they will be able to hold the defensive positions by Bakhmut, but most likely will be vulnerable from the north, and the Russian forces would then break through this northern area and outflank Bakhmut and attack it from the northwest. So exactly what I reported on the 11th of January, which is now more than 2 months ago. The Ukrainian forces would want to hold Bakhmut, and at the same time they don't want to endanger Siversk. If they want to hold Siversk, then they will not go to the northern area, they will just have this area to the west. As when it comes to this video specifically, I pointed out 3 different defensive lines for the Ukrainians. The first one was the Sloviansk-Konstantinivka line, then we have the canal here, and then we have the Bakhmut-Siversk line. So I told them that by the fall of Soledar, this line has been cut into 2. So the Ukrainians would either have to give up Siversk and Bakhmut and establish a defensive line by the canal by setting up a defensive line from Rostolivka through Vasyukivka, Selizhnyanske, Orihovo-Vasilivka, and down by the canal. However, the Ukrainians decided to make it a little tighter by going down to Dubovo and Orihovo-Vasilivka, to Berhivka, Yahidne, and down to Bakhmut. After the Russian forces broke through this northern part, which I also mentioned, the Ukrainian forces was then slowly retreating further and further to the west towards the canal, and now the Russian forces are breaking through the secondary defensive line by going northwards and forcing the Ukrainians to set up a defensive line by the canal, which would endanger Siversk. Now, the thing that I got wrong was that I expected the Russian forces to attack through Vasyukivka and follow this road northwards, rather than going down the E40 highway or connecting both of them at the same time. However, it seems that the Ukrainians have managed to hold back the Russian forces by Vasyukivka, which has prevented any Russian advance through this area. However, the southern flank, which was mentioned to be very vulnerable after the fall of Soledar, the Russian forces have since taken advantage of this and have advanced significantly to the north of Bakhmut. Then we move on to the north on area in the direction of the Siversk front, where here the Russian forces are attacking in the direction of Verkhnokamianske as well as Bilorivka, as they are trying to advance in these areas. And then to the north in the Kreminna front, the Russian forces are attacking in the direction of the forest line to the south of Kreminna, in the western direction in the direction of Yampolivka, as well as Nevske from the Poloshenka area, and in the direction of Makivka from Novovodiane. And that is all for this update. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.